That it would be an interesting cocktail party. That's exactly what happened to Dr. Michael Lim. Dr. Michael Lim, of course, is a cardiologist with SLU Care and SSM Health SLU Hospital, and he joins us via a secure connection at a convention in Scottsdale. Dr. Michael Lim, thanks for getting up early for us.
Good morning. My pleasure. It's good to know that we're not being tapped and listened to in our conversation this morning.
Well, you are being listened to. We are on the radio, so you don't need to tap.
Oh, okay.
All you have to do is tap the app, and you're listening.
There you go.
All right, Doctor. You were in a unique position at this convention down in Scottsdale when news broke of the new ideas for changing, fixing, or repealing Obamacare. What was the conversation like down there?
Well, the reaction is interesting. I think the one thing that's for sure, as I think about it, is very similar to when 8 or 9 years ago when the initial Affordable Care Act was introduced, and there was a lot of emotional response. So, oh my God, you can't do that, and this is terrible, and that's terrible. That act ended up getting approved and it has been termed Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. I think some of the same things are going on now. And the other similarity is we really don't know that much. There's little nuggets about things that have been released, but the entire bill has not been for public consumption or I guess even for a lot of congressmen and congresswomen's consumption. So the specifics we still await.
Yeah. One of the things that you've sort of touched on but isn't getting a lot of attention nationally is not only did Obamacare change a lot of things, but it also changed, and you know this better than I do, and this is the other question. It used to be fee for service. I'd go see a doctor, I'd pay you a fee, somebody would pay you a fee, and I'd get serviced, and then I'd go on. Whereas now, isn't it more based on wellness? And explain the difference, and is that good or bad in your opinion?
Yeah, so the traditional way that doctors and healthcare are paid in this country actually was set up by Medicare itself, and they run basically a fee for service business, which is it's kind of like running your own shop. So if you sell a part, you sell it for a specific price, and you want to open a competitive shop, you can potentially offer a different price. The problem with healthcare is that that type of price competition doesn't exist. Obamacare did not necessarily set in place a platform to change that. What really did was the Medicare concept of they're going to go broke. So the Medicare trust is paying more and more money because people are living longer, and there's more people that fall under Medicare than ever previously figured out. And so what they've done is they've gotten away from a fee-for-service concept, and they've started to bundle care under certain conditions. And so for like an orthopedic surgery, for some joint replacements, the fee won't be for the joint replacement. The fee will be for the joint replacement plus X number of days after the joint replacement. And so you just sort of get a flat fee for that. And then the other thing they've added is what they call a fee or a penalty for quality or lack thereof. And so hospitals and doctors have metrics with respect to the different things that they need to accomplish or stay away from. Usually those quality things have to do with people doing better and having better outcomes from different procedures and with different conditions. And so one of which has gotten great attention in the news is if you are diagnosed with congestive heart failure and you are hospitalized and then you're discharged from the hospital, any readmission to a hospital 30 days after that is reflected as what's called poor quality, and hospitals pay big fines for high readmission rates in those conditions. And so these are the things that have gotten away for just sort of individualized fee for service, rather than every time you come in a hospital you pay a fee. The government's sort of trying to incentivize hospitals and healthcare workers to do the right things.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for doctors today because and the healthcare profession, because you can't win for losing. You have stories of EpiPen prices increasing and this drug increasing, and people complaining about the price increasing, and then those same people complain about government being involved in healthcare. Well, if you want price controls, you're going to have some government intervention. So I don't know how anybody is ever going to come to any consensus, because look at the opposition to this. Republicans have 4 different oppositions to this, and there's only one party.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt that healthcare is very complex, and there's a lot of big parties at the table. Government's at the table, whether we like it or not. They're a major player in terms of how things are done and how things are regulated or not. They're not regulated. Hospitals are a big player. Trial lawyers are a big player. The pharmaceutical industry is a big player. Turns out, fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on your point of view, doctors are a relatively small player. We haven't spent a whole lot of time as a profession in the lobbying game of trying to influence Congress. Maybe to our own demise, but that's not what we've been doing too well of, too good a job of. I would say this: number one, I think as a physician, these things are very important to my livelihood, but they're not very important in terms of why I became a physician or why I still work as one. My ability to interact with patients and to work with them to provide them and offer them means where they can be better off tomorrow than they are today still motivates me and still is tremendously satisfying. And I am going to believe, from an optimistic side of things, that that will still take place after this current debate is done. If you want to dig into the weeds, I do think that we can't simplify the debate on healthcare. We should have it, but we should have an open and free debate. I don't believe we should listen to our congressmen and women talk about what's better for healthcare and what's not better for healthcare when they are part of a completely separate system. I believe that to gain credibility with the American public, the members of Congress need to opt themselves into this plan and not out of. They have a much different health care plan that all government employees get to take advantage of, and they've never touched it. An American tax dollar pays that price tag, and nobody talks about it. Number two, we need to actually include all parties, regardless of how much money they spend on lobbying. So the pharmaceutical industry needs to be talked about. The insurance industry needs to be talked about and held accountable. There is a report from CNBC this morning that says that there's a provision in this new act that allows health insurance companies to utilize a tax cut or a tax incentive where they can pay their CEO any price they want, and it is completely or 100% tax deductible. When you want to talk about prices, what they quoted was the CEO of Aetna makes somewhere around, I think it was $70 million. I could be wrong on that figure, but it's a several $1 million a year salary. I don't believe most of your listeners make that much money. And it's 100% tax deductible for companies that fall under nonprofit protections. And I'm happy to have that argument with them or have it openly discussed why health insurance companies should be viewed as non-for-profit. But when we put all the things on the table, I think that's a great conversation. When we're only able to talk about certain things, I think that's a non-helpful discussion.
Well, Dr. Michael Lim, sometime we'll have you back and you can tell us what you really think. How about that?
Every week, McGraw. Every week.
Dr. Michael Lim, cardiologist with SLU Care and SSM Health SLU Hospital down in Arizona for a doctor's conference. Enjoy the nice weather, doctor, and we'll see you next week.
You got it. Take care, guys.
Thanks.
8:29. There it is, right from the horse's mouth, right
It's
from
really great hearing it from the doctor's perspective.
right
So
from
knowledgeable.
the front lines.
Yeah.
Like it or don't like it, but it's that guy's opinion. 8:29, Big 550, KTRS. Let me tell you about Blue Apron, because how would you like